Well, more than 20 states and other organizations are suing the EPA over President Obama's plan to fight global warming. Now, the president says his plan will help the environment, but critics fear it will be bad for businesses and the economy. Jennifer Wishon files this report from the White House.
The president calls it a clean energy plan. Critics call it a war on coal. They're asking a court to overturn the rule and put it on ice until the litigation plays out. They say it's just the latest example of the president using his executive authority to bypass Congress, this time using the EPA to force states to transform their electric grids. The EPA has given each state a goal to meet by 2030. Some must reduce their carbon dioxide emissions by nearly half. If states don't formulate plans to reach the EPA's goal, the federal government will create one for them. Luke Popovich works for the National Mining Association, one of the groups filing suit.
Essentially, what this plan does is take away our most affordable sources of generating electricity, which is coal and then natural gas.
Coal generates nearly 40% of the nation's power. The president wants to replace it with more renewable fuels like wind and solar, which make up about 6% of the market. Changing the nation's power grid will be costly.
They will claim that this plan will cost you money, even though this plan, the analysis shows, will ultimately save the average American nearly $85 a year on their energy bills.
But that's 15 years away. Until then, experts say cost will be passed on to customers, mostly hurting low-income Americans and the elderly living on fixed incomes. The coal industry also expects to lose more jobs on top of the 40,000 lost over the past 3 years.
Virtually no environmental benefit is being achieved by all this economic havoc. I mean, it's one thing if we could say, well, we have to pay a substantial price in order to really address global warming, however serious you think it might be. But when you learn that by EPA's own numbers, this plan will have virtually negligible effect on global warming.
That's because China and other developing nations are major polluters, but expect a fight. Addressing climate change is one of the president's top priorities before he leaves office. He personally promoted his plan on social media during a recent trip to Alaska.
Behind me is one of the most visited glaciers in Alaska. It is spectacular. This is worth preserving.
But as the holder of the world's largest supply of coal, Popovich says taking it off the table just doesn't make sense.
When instead, we could use the same amount of money that we're going to be forcing taxpayers to pay in higher electricity costs, and instead put that money into technology innovation, and then not only use that technology for the resource we have here, keep those jobs and that resource valuable here in the United States, but use it much more cleanly. At the same time, sell that technology abroad to the big emitting countries like China and India, who are going to be using coal whether we like it or not.
The next move belongs to the court. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.